Yes, I do. I am good to go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Morale Podcast, where we do our three favorite things: talk a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. Ian, the tall guy, are back with you. We had a little bit of a hiatus there, but we're back.
Oh, we are so back, and we are so ready to be hitting up this podcast right now.
Yeah, we've got a fire episode for you guys today. It is full of just intrigue, and Mitch just is going to spew some shit at you, ladies and gentlemen. He is just all sorts of fired up.
Oh, you're so welcome. You guys are going to love this. I'm already excited. Do you want to tell them what it's about?
Yeah.
You want to tease it a little bit?
So Mitch has graciously formulated his all-hate team. These are
Mitchell's all-NBA hate team.
Yes. These are 5 players and 1 bench player who are currently in the NBA that you just cannot stand.
Yeah.
You despise, you hate them, they suck.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard coming down to only 6 people, and some of you may agree with some of my opinions, and some of you may disagree with some of my opinions. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care what your opinion is because I love hating these players.
This is the tall guy's list.
This is my list. This is the Mitchell Davis All NBA hate team.
And he was more than excited to make it, and we are more than excited to share it with you. Couple of housekeeping things that we got to get to before we get going here. We have officially settled on a schedule. We've been kind of at the beginning of this podcast, kind of posting randomly here and there to try to feel it out. We're young, we're figuring things out, and we've kind of just started this to figure out what we wanted to do. And we're going to be once a week on Wednesdays. So breaking news here on the Team Morale Pod: Wednesday nights, Wednesday mornings, once a week on Wednesday at some point in the day. I cannot promise you a time, but Wednesdays will be the time that you will be hearing from us. So ready on Thursday mornings on the drive to work, Wednesdays on the drive to work, depending on whenever. But we will have you guys a podcast on Wednesdays.
Yes, and we're very excited about trying to get on a new schedule, be a little bit more consistent, and hopefully we can bring some really interesting new topics to you guys going forward too.
Interesting takes, fun little stories, fun ideas, fun games that we play in the podcast. And as always, we will always have a whiskey, beer, wine, some sort of alcoholic beverage along with us. And tonight, what do we have with us today?
What a transition there, E. All right, tonight we are going to be drinking the American Barrels Bourbon Whiskey, and which I picked this one out at the liquor store, and if I'm being totally honest with you, I picked it out because of the bottle.
And for those of you who don't know what the bottle looks like, it's got I think we've settled on a rattlesnake. It's some sort of snake. It's got a weird looking tail. I think we've settled on a rattlesnake on kind of engraved into the bottle, I think is the right word for that.
You know, I actually have a story for you about the shape of the bottle. Yeah, so first of all, this is founded by a guy named Mike Reed, who in 2014, he was at that point a 24-year-old that was like, I'm going to make a whiskey.
Every time.
Every
freaking time.
It's just a guy who's like, oh, I like booze. Let's make booze. Anyways, so his name is Mike Reed. He created it in 2014, and his entire premise behind this bottle, you know, it's funny, when you look at it, you may not think of it like this, but his entire vision was, I want to make a very patriotic bottle. And so what I did not see at first is that there's kind of like a ribbed part to the glass. Yeah. This is actually in the shape of a shotgun shell. And it's like metal on the bottom and stuff. So it's the shape of a shotgun shell. And then the snake that goes around it is the Don't Tread on Me logo from the Marines snake.
Interesting.
So his whole premise behind this bottle was kind of military themed and kind of patriotic themed, and they've been, especially there's all sorts of promos for American Barrels bourbon throughout the election process, bring out your patriotic side, drink the American Barrels whiskey.
Interesting.
Yeah, do you see it now?
I don't.
You don't?
I guess.
You don't have to see it.
I mean, no, I see it. I see it. I don't know what. Like, I'm sure there's significance. There's like rope around the top. And
Well, it's just like
there's a bunch of like
shotgun
things
shell
now that I'm
with a don't
overanalyzing. I'm overanalyzing the bottle now.
Yeah, you're looking for like the Easter eggs. There's
Yes,
no Easter
for Easter eggs.
It's a shotgun shell with a rattlesnake around it.
I'm in.
Welcome to America. But yeah, so we're gonna try it out. It's the guy started creating it in 2014, so it is relatively new. But we're gonna sip on it and we're gonna tell you what we think about it later.
Absolutely. And so we're gonna get into your all hate team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for it. I don't know his list. I have some ideas just from knowing Mitch about some of the players that I know he generally doesn't like. But I have no idea who's on said list. Do you have it like by position or is it 5 players?
So a little bit of both.
Okay.
I do have it. I'm going to go down by position.
Okay, so you're going to start with like point guard.
I'm going to start with point guard. And we're going to go down the list. And I'll be honest, there was definitely some guys like I wanted to put on the list, and I was like adjusting. But this is what my final draft ended up looking like.
He was working on this for about an hour, ladies and gentlemen, and like was continually working on it up until about when we pressed record.
Yeah, we pressed record, and I was like, wait, no, I got to add this guy. Okay, so number 1 is the point guard.
Point guard position.
The point guard position. And there is few men in this league that I hate more than this guy's stupid turtle face. And
what are you talking about?
That's Russell Westbrook. He is Franklin.
Oh
He's
my
got the Franklin the
God.
turtle face, but it's kind of like...
The moment you said turtle face, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, dude, Russell Westbrook. Okay, so a big part of this is going to be because obviously him and my favorite Blazer, Dame, have had a very public, ongoing beef with each other that has gone through several years and gone into the playoffs, had some really intense moments. And I'll be honest with you, I liked Russell Westbrook for a long time. I wanted him to win the MVP that one year where he got the triple-double. But then, like, the next season, all of a sudden, like, it was super random. Him and Dame was shooting free throws. And then Russell Westbrook was on the free throw line. And he was just like, I've been busting that ass for years. And Dame's like, I didn't know we had beef with each other, but I guess that this is happening now. And ever since, it's become a whole thing. Do you like Russell Westbrook? What do you think?
I don't have an opinion on him.
You have no opinion on Russell Westbrook? He's a very, like, intense dude.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like he's a tough guy to play with. He requires a specific type of player to be able to withstand him. I think him and Jimmy Butler in kind of the same mindset of like, you've got to match their level of intensity or they'll show you the door type thing. And I just think I'm of the opinion that Russell Westbrook's style of basketball doesn't contribute to winning basketball. I'm a big proponent of like the way he plays doesn't help a team win. So do I hate him? No. Do I think he's good? I guess. Do I think he's ever going to win anything other than individual awards? No.
So pretty much what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more, is that Russell Westbrook is a big fat loser who is not going to contribute to winning basketball because his game doesn't work with winning basketball. If you're the star player with like other good like B style players, you could be a 5 seed. You could be a guy that like puts up crazy stats and goes and wins an MVP, which is, one of the more arguable MVPs in history. I already said
more arguable.
Yeah,
I disagree with that. I disagree with that
look,
wholeheartedly.
The thing that was really interesting at the time with Russell Westbrook was the fact that he got that triple-double. And it was like, this is something that no one really thought was going to happen. People theorized maybe LeBron was going to be a guy that could get a triple-double. But it was almost like a mythical kind of stat.
And by triple-double, you mean average triple-double for a whole season?
For an entire season, yes. And so it's like a mythical kind of stat that no one had achieved or was going to achieve after Big O, Oscar Robertson, way back in the day, who he did it. And he actually, someday we should talk about that season because of one of the greatest MVP races. He ended up not winning the MVP that year. But it was this like very like can't be done mythical stat. And at the time, I was one of those guys that was like, I think Russell Westbrook should win the MVP that year. But you had Harden, who was putting all-time great stats up. You had LeBron, who was still putting his like consistent MVP level stats up. But now here we are, like several years later, and Russell Westbrook has averaged a triple-double, I think at least once, if not twice, since then.
He's still the only player to do it.
Yes, but like no one really cares anymore. He did it.
Well, yeah,
he did it, and then the very next year he did it again, and no one cared.
Well, that's because it's sports, and it's what have you done for me lately? The first time he did it was amazing. It was actually not terrible, but then he went to bad teams, and he's now on a bad team again. And so when the year he won the triple-double, the biggest thing about it, or the year he got the triple-double average for a year, the biggest thing about it was he did it efficiently. That was like the big thing of the season that made his like stats almost crazy good, was the fact that he shot a decent percentage from three. Again, I'm not talking he was shooting efficient or league average, but he was at least doing it quasi efficiently. Nowadays when he does it, it's on bare minimum of like just above the level of acceptableness when it comes to efficiency. I think in my mind, that's why these years mean less than the year he did it. Because if you look at his percentages and everything, his efficiency was much better.
That's fair. That's fair. And also, like, there's something to be said about a guy that backpacks a team on his own and, like, actually, like, you know, he's the only star player. And this was also the year after Durant left. So everyone had a whole lot of sympathy for Westbrook and what he was going through as being, like, the last guy on that Thunder team and, like, really trying to backpack that team to the playoffs. And so everyone, like, it was a very heartwarming, feel-good story, and it turned out, I think it was like the very last game, he had to get a certain number of rebounds to get to that 10.0 triple-double average, and he got like that exact number or something like that. And so I understand it. At the time, I was saying, hey, I think that he should win MVP, but here we are years later, and it feels like no one cares about the like triple-double thing anymore. You got guys like Luka, who's putting up close to triple-double stats. You got guys like Harden that's putting up close to triple-double stats. And it's kind of just like the way that the NBA has sped up and is like, it's such a fast game now where stats are almost a little bit inflated. And so the triple-double thing doesn't mean nearly as much to anyone anymore.
So the year he won it, he averaged 31.6 points per game.
It's pretty good.
10.4 rebounds and 10.7 assists.
It's not bad.
No, actually, sorry. 10.4 assists, 10.7 rebounds. But here's the big kicker here. He shot 34% from three.
Yeah, like he has not done that since.
Since that year, he hasn't been above 30% until this year, where he's at 33. And he shot 42.5% from the field, which isn't, again, not great, but still acceptable. Like that was the big deal for me because that was the first year he averaged a triple-double. His efficiency was what made it impressive. That's my big part in this is like his efficiency is what made the triple-double. Like the stats are there, the stats are amazing, but again, averaging a triple-double or averaging close to triple-double, old news. But doing it efficiently, that's what makes it impressive. Because like, don't get me wrong, love me some Luka Doncic. Averages very close to a triple-double. This year could not be less efficient. And like getting the stats is not that impressive because nowadays you have basically one guy on every team that has the ball in his hands almost the entire time he's on the court. And then he goes to the bench and they give it to another guy. And he has the ball in his hands the whole time he's on the court. You got to kind of stagger your 2-3 guys that you trust with the ball. So those 2-3 guys are going to have crazy elevated stats. But being able to do it efficiently is what's impressive to me.
And that's totally fair. And that, like, for Russell Westbrook, that's the linchpin to his legacy. Is he got that MVP. He was the first guy to average a triple-double since Big O. He may be one of the only guys to average a triple-double along with Big O in the history of the game, like at the end of a season. So I'm not saying that the guy is bad at basketball.
We got off topic here.
We got off topic. I want to get back on topic as to like why I hate him, which is he just is out here starting beef with people for no reason.
Oh, guy loves to fight.
Dude, Damian Lillard is one of the like nicest, like more beloved players by other players in the entire NBA. And he was just like standing there, and then Russell Westbrook's like, "No, we're gonna have some shit with each other." And I have decided this. And Dame was like, all right, and then he kind of rolled with it. And in that series against the Thunder, I have never seen Dame more animated and more intense and like more amped up about every single play. Like when he like knocked down like he stopped Westbrook from making a shot, and then pulled up from like a 40-footer like he does, and he did like the like waving his arms like bombs away thing. I was like, I have never seen him like taunt or do anything like that up until that point.
Yeah. No, Westbrook likes to fight.
He just always brings like the worst/best out of my main man.
I mean, I will say your guy likes to talk shit. Dame is a shit talker. There's no way around that.
He is recently. He really wasn't up until like that series. I would say like he wasn't, and ever since then, yeah, he's been much more vocal.
But yeah, unless we want this podcast to be like an hour and a half long, we should probably move on to our next guy.
All right.
Westbrook, as your point guard on the all-hate team, in my opinion, not a surprise. He's a very polarizing player. A lot of people hate him. A lot of people love him. I'm one of the few that are indifferent on him. Could care less. But yes, Russell Westbrook.
There were some other guys I was thinking about putting at the
Who else were you
point
thinking
guard.
about?
Just like off the top of my head, guys like Kyrie, kind of just like a bitch who like keeps going from one team to the next, is like always has complaints and never really has solutions to anybody, and like played with LeBron and was winning championships. He's like, I'm not getting the ball enough. I don't shoot enough. And then goes to the Celtics and like doesn't really do anything with them. And then goes to the Nets and is like the third fiddle now. I don't know. He's kind of weak. Chris Paul, I've heard, is like just like a real dick in his personal life. And he acts, he complains more than probably anyone in the entire NBA.
Biggest whiner in the NBA.
Biggest whiner.
At Zach Lowe, go fuck yourself.
That's a reference to Zach Lowe saying that Luka was the biggest whiner in the NBA, which he is well on his way to. But Chris Paul still exists.
You're not wrong.
At first, you're like shocked and appalled, like, yeah, maybe a little bit. And then the other guy who I feel like everyone else hates is Pat Bev.
Yeah, Pat Bev sucks.
Pat Bev sucks. Like,
Pat Bev just sucks.
But also, I appreciate a guy who
has no talent and just screams at people.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
No.
I appreciate a guy who like carves a niche out for himself in the NBA by just being like really, really, really crazy and intense.
But he's not talented. Like he talks all the shit and does it back. If you look at his actual defensive, look at his actual defensive metrics, he is not. I've hated Pat Bev a long time, and I've gone deep dives on him. His actual defensive like deep dive stats, he is not. He just had great help defenders around him.
I think we found someone who may have been on your list.
Oh, he was a headline. A lot of Clippers are on this list, gents. Move on.
All right, at shooting guard, it's arguable if he's a shooting guard, is a guy from the Golden State Warriors. Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre?
Why? In all fairness, I wanted like one really deep dive guy, and every single time I play against Kelly Oubre, I'm just like...
You don't play at all. Let's start there.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, yes, I do not play the games. Whenever I am watching a game, whether it's the Mavericks against the Warriors or the Blazers against the Warriors or the Knicks against the Warriors, every single time I'm watching a game with the Warriors, I just like end up screaming at Kelly Oubre. I'm just like, oh my God, like he's a chotch. He's a total chotch. He's out here blowing kisses to people. I was so happy when they teed him up for blowing a kiss. I was like, it's a weak ass tee, but I thought it was so funny.
Just wild. I did not see this one coming.
I
don't know if I see him as a shooting guard, so let's start there. But
yes,
we'll round up or down or whatever it is.
He's a wing.
I guess.
I put him as a big wing. We're in positionless basketball era, Ethan. So yeah, I didn't really have like a true like shooting guard that I was like, oh my God, like I totally hate that guy. But there's something about Kelly Oubre and the way he looks and the way he acts and the fact that he was 0 for 34 to start the season from 3, and he's like, I'm gonna keep shooting it. Someday I'll make a 3.
He did, and when they played the Mavericks the first time, he was like, hey, all those misses, they're all gonna go in today. I don't have an opinion on Kelly Oubre. I do know that like his eyes scare me. Have you seen his eyes?
It looks like he wears mascara.
I don't think it's that. He's just got these
I'm not
like
saying he wears mascara.
Well, no, but I don't think it looks like that.
Mascara.
His eyes are just very like intense. Like his eyes scare me. Like he's got like these brightly colored eyes. It's wild. Nothing wrong with it. It's just like I look at him, I was like, holy cow, like that guy's an intense dude.
He has very bright eyes. I've always joked that it looks like he like puts mascara on, for the bright lights before every game.
For those of you that are watching on YouTube, we'll put pictures of Kelly Oubre's face so you can see his eyes.
Obviously, he doesn't because, I feel like it would spread into your eyes a little bit from the sweat. Maybe he doesn't sweat. Maybe he's just so good that he doesn't actually like break a sweat ever.
That's how I feel like Steph Curry is. You ever seen Steph Curry sweaty? I haven't.
Feels like he moves around a lot, too.
Yeah, but he doesn't sweat. You never seen him sweaty.
That's a good point. But yeah, I thought that the Kelly Oubre one was kind of a fun, funny one to put in there because I don't know. I really don't have a full reason why I hate him so much, other than every time I watch a game with him in it, I end up hating Kelly Oubre more than everyone else on the court. Usually, people
unless there's Russell Westbrook on the court.
Look, well, he's already hateable. This is a new hateable guy for me. Keep an eye out for Kelly Oubre, you guys. I don't think he's a very good person, and
we don't know that for sure, but we're just gonna say that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. This is my all hateable list. All right, I'm allowed to just spew stuff out.
All right, this is therapeutic for you, I'm sure.
This feels good.
All right, move on. Who's your next guy?
All right. So at small forward, I am willing to bet that the majority of NBA fans will agree with me on this, and the fact that Kevin Durant.
Okay, fair.
Kevin Durant is one of the weakest, mentally weakest guys that the NBA has ever seen. Superstars, at least.
He's definitely one of the mentally weakest. He just is going to go down in the history books for making the bitchiest move in the history of sports.
Yeah. I want to start off with just breaking it down real quick.
Timeline, please.
Yes. Kevin Durant. Oh, man, I got to go back and actually find the exact years. But Kevin Durant playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Up until this point, Kevin Durant is kind of seen around the NBA as an ultimate good guy, kind of seen as a person that doesn't really whine a lot, kind of goes out and does his job and does it well, does it efficiently. Doesn't really even argue with the refs all that much.
His last year in Oklahoma City was 2015-16, if that helps.
Okay. Thank you very much. So 2015-16,
life was good.
Life was good. He was beloved around the NBA. Like the young upcoming star that's going to be challenging LeBron James is on a really good team already. 2015-16
went to the finals.
They already had been to the finals. And then 2015-16 comes along. They go to the conference finals against the Juggernaut Warriors, this was the first year of the Juggernaut Warriors, and they are leading 3-1 against the Warriors in the conference finals.
And if it weren't for a miracle game from Clay, where he goes off, and I mean off from 3, they are going to the finals.
Yes, the Thunder are in the finals and have a pretty good chance against a hobbling Cavalier squad. They have a very good chance to actually win the championship that year. They choke and they lose the 3-1 lead. Similarly, same year, Warriors lose their 3-1 lead to the Cavs.
Suck it, Draymond.
LOL. And then there was a lot of murmurs that were happening. It was because of this weird bump in the cap because of the TV deal that had recently showed up for the NBA, the Warriors have enough space or could create enough space to get Kevin Durant without giving up Clay, Steph, or Draymond. And everyone was like, oh no.
Oh dear God.
Oh no, that shouldn't be a thing. That surely cannot be a thing. Aren't they paying everyone else?
Everyone quickly grabs a calculator.
Yeah. And it's funny that the perfect storm of events happened because Steph signed a non-max deal because he was still injured and they offered him the extension before he was Steph Curry. He was not all-star or MVP guy Steph Curry. So
he was good.
He was good. He was still a very good player.
But he was not the player that he was.
Yeah, so he was not given the max. Clay was on the max at the time. Draymond did not take a max. And so they had a full max spot once after trading Harrison Barnes and Bogut to bring in Kevin Durant. And I was like, there's no way Kevin Durant does this. There's no way that he bails on the Thunder team.
Let's break this down. You lose to this team after being up 3-1, any person with a spine goes let's run it back. Mm-hmm. We got this. Let's run it back. We were this close.
Yeah.
Spineless Kevin Durant's nah.
I'm out.
I'm going to go join these guys.
Man, they just kicked our face in. I can't wait to go join them and kick your face in later.
And then after he signed to them, he's like, oh, wait, by the way, guys, I'm really a dick. And I own that about myself.
Yeah, he came out and he was just he's like, oh, well, I haven't actually been acting like myself. I've been kind of hiding myself, through PR, people telling me not to say this, not to say that. That's what I realized. Is like, oh, so you're just like a dick, and you've just been hiding it really well. Then the whole burner account thing happened.
Let me talk shit to children, but not really be myself. I'm going to make a burner account and then talk crap to children.
That honestly might be one of the funniest, like, random things to happen.
It's got swept under the rug. Like, how is that not still talked about?
Dude, I honestly forget what he even said, but he clearly had a burner account where he forgot to switch over to the burner account where he posted as Kevin Durant talking about how great Kevin Durant is. Like in the third person. Dude, he's just like he's spineless. I bring up Kevin Durant because I don't want people to forget about the spinelessness of Kevin Durant.
Don't like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Okay, people, don't.
Don't give into this, like, Kevin Durant's, like, being an okay guy with the Nets. And, like, he kind of has, like, for the most part, shut up this year and just, like been, like, good at playing basketball. Not to say shut up and dribble, but he's been outwardly, like, weird and rude and, like, rude to many media members. And weird on Twitter, like throughout the entire Warriors tenure.
People in our neck of the woods, people that work in sports, have like generally people we work with have like a list of athletes that they genuinely hate to interview. Chris Paul is one of them. Mm-hmm. Chris Paul is just a known dick.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant might top the list.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the media, people that like work in the media just generally don't like this guy. It's Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I've heard
Chris Paul's one of them. Kobe was one of them. Like it's just general. I mean, before Kobe got nice at the end of his career, at some point in Kobe's career, he just randomly became nice, and everyone's like, "What changed?"
Yeah, he kind of was like, "Oh, we're not going to win a championship. I'm just going to go ahead and be a good guy and like be nice now." But
Kevin Durant might top the list in terms of biggest dicks.
Very difficult to deal with.
Yes.
He's just a diva.
Yes,
he's a total diva, is what he is.
Don't forget the fact that when he left the Warriors to go to the Nets, the Warriors were able to spin it into a trade, and they got picks back.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant was like, no, you're not trading just picks for me. Get rid of D'Lo. Instead of being like, oh, I get to play with this all-star, young, super good, talented point guard. He's like, no, that trade package for me wasn't enough. I'm worth more than that. Go trade my best player that I'm going to like bond with.
Yeah, kind of like screwing over your new team already.
Just because you have like
this like ego.
Yeah.
This ego is like, oh, I'm worth more than this, so I like D'Lo has to be a part of this trade. It's ridiculous. I think that majority of NBA fans would agree that Kevin Durant is a very hateable person at this point. For
not even a player, just a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that I'd get you on that one.
I'm all in.
I knew that I'd get you on that one.
I wasn't in on some of them. Like, I don't know about all of them, but to this point, Kevin Durant, I'm all in.
All right.
Screw that guy.
All right. Do you want to talk about the whiskey at all?
Let's hit the whiskey again.
Good
idea. We're 3 deep right now, right? Yeah. Let's hit the whiskey again.
All right.
I need another glass.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to pour another glass here too. All right. So, American Barrel. No, I'm just trying to read it.
I'm trying to pour myself.
I know. American Barrel's bourbon whiskey, relatively new. I would not say that it's like on every single shelf. I think it was a little bit random that it just happened to be at our local little liquor store here. Definitely picked it out because I thought that the bottle was cool, and I'm glad that that's what the story ended up being about because the bottle is cool. But
the bottle was eye grabbing for sure.
Yes, the bottle's very eye grabbing. Overall, I think that the taste is lighter.
It's definitely light. It's definitely high on vanilla. Mm-hmm. I'm almost left like wanting a spice at the end that isn't there.
Well, you know what's funny is we were talking about this when we first popped it open. It's very spicy on the nose.
Yeah, you smell it and you like are like, ooh, I'm gonna need some ice for this bad boy.
Yeah,
and yet I'm here drinking it without ice now. Like,
and not really having an issue with it.
It's just smooth. It's very easy drinking. Like there's not the spice there that you think there's gonna be.
Mm-mm. No, it's very light. I'll say that you get a little spice like on the back of your throat when it hits, but when you swallow, like it's, sometimes you feel it like in your chest sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You don't feel it at all like that. I would say that this is very easy drinking kind of whiskey.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of the same flavors, mainly because we're all new in this whole whiskey tasting thing, but I get a lot of vanilla, I get a lot of caramel. Mm-hmm. It's smooth, it's light. The color on it is actually lighter
It's
than
lighter
it
in the
looks
glass
like
than in
the bottle. Yeah.
It's lighter in
Which
the glass
I'm
than the
guessing
bottle.
is because of the
dark metal
the
on
dark
the bottom.
metal on the, but there's a dark metal part that's supposed to, I guess, be the back of the bullet of the shotgun shell.
Yeah.
But when you pour it into a glass, it's much, much lighter than it looks in the bottle.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoy it. I think that we've talked about a couple of these that, like, if you're someone who doesn't necessarily love whiskey, or if you're trying to start getting into whiskey, I think this one would be a good one. It's not the most expensive thing on the shelf, so it's affordable, and it's not going to be one where you have to like grin and bear it through the whole thing. You're like, ugh, I know I'm supposed to like this, but I don't get why I'm supposed to like this. I think this one is much lighter and easier drinking.
Yeah, I would agree. It's easy, it's smooth, it's light, I don't want to say crisp, but like
a little bit. I think this would be really good with 7-Up or Sprite or ginger ale.
I was gonna say it's not one that I think is meant to be drank by itself.
I think it's a good mixing. Good mixer whiskey.
I would agree with that. I don't know if it's meant to be like just drank on the rocks. I mean, I guess any distiller is gonna be like, my whiskey's meant to be drank on the rocks, but yeah. I think this particular one is meant to be mixed more than others. I think
a lot of the distillers will probably even be like, oh, like, I want you to drink mine neat. I want you to know what the real flavor is. I personally think that like 1 or 2 ice cubes or like a little bit of water in it like gets you more flavor, but a lot of those like aficionados.
I don't have enough hair on my chest for that. I can try and pretend, but I do not have enough hair on my chest for that.
But yes, very good. Little weedy, nice and soft. I would recommend this for you guys. You should go and try it out.
All right. Absolutely. Definitely worth a look. If you see the bottle, I mean, just pick it up and look at it. Just know that the whiskey's a lot lighter than it looks like in the bottle.
It looks heavier than in the bottle, but it's a very, very cool bottle. I would say definitely one of my favorite bottles.
Definitely a keeper bottle for sure.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely one of my favorite bottles that we've seen out of all the ones that we've tried out.
For sure. All right. So who you got at power forward here?
All right. At power forward, I have a very polarizing player. Not a lot of people have heard of this guy.
That's upsetting.
He's
definitely thought you were going with Draymond Green, and I was ready to go. I was
not
locked
Draymond.
And loaded.
No, very low key player. Your average NBA fan probably wouldn't know who it is. It's LeBron James.
Oh. I was so ready to go nuts on Draymond Green there, and now it's LeBron James.
It's LeBron James. You know, I definitely could have put Draymond on there, and
he kicked Dirk in the balls, man.
Let's take a little section out here, because I know that Draymond is your most hated guy.
He's my least favorite athlete of all time.
Which is hard saying that.
It's him and Terrell Suggs are my two least favorite athletes of all time, but Draymond takes the cake. And there's a rumor out there that the Mavs are looking to trade for him, and if they trade for him, I'm going to have a hard time rooting for the Mavericks. I hate him that much.
You know what's funny is, first of all, the Warriors aren't trading Draymond.
No.
Second of all, if he did go to the Mavericks, that's a great fit for you guys. That's a whole different conversation.
Different podcast. That being said, Draymond kicked my favorite player in the nuts and was like, no, I didn't. And he did. No guy just grabs his balls and falls to the ground and just is like, oh my God, and then lays there for a while. Draymond's the worst.
Draymond was very close to making my list. He's one of those guys that just like sits there and like he's
the biggest whiner in the NBA.
He is the biggest whiner in the NBA.
Not even close.
He like straight up just like screams at refs, and refs are like, ugh, that's how he communicates. I'm not going to tee him up. I'm like, if this was anyone else in the entire NBA, you'd be teeing him up, because you're not allowed to scream at the refs. But he gets away with it for some reason.
In my Draymond hatred, I end up in the rabbit holes of the internet sometimes, and I found out like the average time per game spent yelling at a referee. Like some guy did this stat, and Draymond averaged like, I think it was almost like 20 seconds a game screaming at a referee.
Oh, wow.
Which, if you think about it, that's a lot of time to be spent screaming. And this is like during like live game, and like meaning he missed 20 seconds of the time he was on the floor where the ball was live, screaming at the referee.
You know what's funny?
Which LeBron was second.
Low. Of course he was second.
Well, but you think about it, like, I'm not talking about during a dead ball. I'm talking about where someone else is dribbling. Like the ball is live, and he's sitting there screaming at the referee.
And that's per game?
That's about per game.
Wow. Yeah, I believe it. He complains after everything.
Anything and everything.
Yeah.
Like, he could get a call and then still scream and complain.
He's a total whiner.
Oh, God. Cannot stand him.
He probably is the biggest whiner in the NBA.
Not
honestly.
even close.
I think
him
and Chris Paul are pretty close.
He
But
hangs his hat on that he's a hard worker and, like, is, like, a glue guy. Nah. Screw you.
Well, you could be a hard worker and a glue guy and also complain.
No.
Like, that does exist. Anyway, so my only issue with Draymond Green is the fact that he yells at refs and they don't tee him up. Outside of that,
He kicks people in the balls, man.
I personally don't have a lot of issues with Draymond
I
Green.
have every issue with Draymond
I think
Green.
that he is a great glue guy.
He's the reason I hate the Warriors. And I have a lot of reasons to like the Warriors. I'm from California. Klay Thompson went to my high school. Like, a lot of reasons to like the Warriors. Cannot stand them because of that guy. I want them to lose. I want them to go 0-82. Last year was the best year ever.
Just Draymond and nobody else.
Ugh, it was amazing. And it was like, he was like surprisingly quiet because when he's not on a good team, he can't complain because he realizes he's not good enough to be on a winning team and actually make them good. And I was like, yes, lose and die. Anyways,
I'm glad that
I'm
we
off
got
my soapbox.
I'm glad that you got a moment to do your soapbox. It's pretty much like one giant soapbox.
I was about to say, if I made a team, it would be Draymond Green times 6.
It'd be Draymond Green
and
like
Kevin
4
Durant
times.
there one time.
And Pat Bev.
Pat Bev. Okay,
He'd
so
probably be in
Draymond
there.
Green, Kevin Durant, Pat Bev, Marcus Morris. That's my team. But Draymond Green's there the rest of the spots.
All right. That's fair.
Anyways,
That's fair.
continue.
Anyways. LeBron James. Okay, I am going to go on my soapbox
Please.
right now. Now, LeBron James, it's hard to not have an opinion about LeBron James. And
Arguably like the most famous athlete right now.
yeah, arguably one of the most famous athletes of all time.
There's him, there's Tom Brady, there's Ronaldo, like I'm trying to think of Tiger Woods, like just downright famous athletes. You don't even have to like sports, but you know who LeBron James is.
Yeah, you could be a person who has no idea what sports is, but you've heard LeBron. Like, you've heard the name LeBron James because he is such a prominent figure in pop culture. Now, I know a lot of people that love LeBron James. There is a huge cult following of people that don't even follow teams. They just follow LeBron James.
I wouldn't call it a cult following because that would like belittle the size of it. There's
That's
a lot
true.
of people out there.
That's very
that
true.
Love LeBron James.
Yeah, especially like in this new like kind of modern NBA where a lot of fans are more fans of players than teams.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Dirk. Yes, absolutely.
And so LeBron is obviously a huge piece of that, and so you have a ton of people who are just fans of LeBron. And I'm not going to sit here and discredit LeBron. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a bad person. I'm not going to say that he's a bad basketball player. But I have a major issue with LeBron's career and his choices that he's made.
That's fair. I was about to say, to your point on him as a person, you have to at least, and before you go into bashing him, I have to at least say this. You have to at least acknowledge and respect the fact that that guy has had his life under a microscope since he was 18 years old, and he has not done anything like to break the law, to like do anything that like has ruffled any feather. Like, I mean, I'm talking in his personal life. Like, obviously his choices as an athlete have rubbed some people the wrong way. Absolutely. But in today's sports, athletes are generally given a lot of passes in terms of laws, in terms of, certain things that they do that may or may not be morally correct.
Yes.
And he has done nothing but been a good father, a good family man, and like has done a lot of good in this world.
Yeah.
Like, you have to at least acknowledge that as a person, he has not done a lot wrong.
Yes.
That being said, as a basketball player, take it away.
That being said, I think that it's one of the more cataclysmic. I hope I said that right.
Wow.
Cataclysmic.
We're not whiskey glasses deep.
Yeah, we're not halfway through this bottle. One of the more cataclysmic and like giant avalanche causing decisions was the decision, the quote unquote decision, the entire like ESPN episode that LeBron James did when he chose to leave Cleveland and join Miami. And actually, like, this is all hindsight 2020 after watching documentaries and reading some stuff. David Stern tried to get that canceled. David Stern heard about the whole LeBron James is going to make the decision.
David Stern was the commissioner of the NBA at the time.
Yes. David Stern was the
late David Stern.
The late David Stern. And he was the longtime commissioner at that point. He had been the commissioner. Beloved. Yeah, beloved. Been the commissioner since early 90s. And he heard about this, and he tried to get ESPN to not do it. He tried to stop the running of this entire taping because he knew that it was going to do nothing but look bad for LeBron James and for the league. So what LeBron did there was different than any other decision or anything that's ever been done in the history of basketball, in that he chose to go to Miami to play along with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and force so they ended up being a sign and trade, and the Cavs did get picks back. But do you think the Cavs wanted to trade LeBron James for picks?
Nobody wants to trade.
No one wanted to trade LeBron James for picks. No one wanted to do that. But he forced them into a situation. It's like, oh, great, we get some picks for LeBron James. That's cool.
Which you can argue that every sign and trade is kind of like that. You mean any other player's going to leave. That being said, him deciding to go to the Heat only under the consideration that they, get Dwayne Wade under this contract and sign Chris Bosh to this contract started this super team movement.
Yes.
That had ruined the NBA for decade.
Yeah, going back to Kevin Durant, I don't think that Kevin Durant does the move that he does with the Warriors without LeBron James making this move with the Heat. Because people always make the arguments, it's like, oh, well, the Miami Heat aren't the very first super team ever, because you had the Spurs. The Spurs were a super team with Manu and Tony and Tim Duncan. It's like they drafted all those guys. Not only did they draft him, but Manu was a second round pick and Tony Parker was a late first round pick. And these are guys weren't supposed to be superstars, but developed into superstars. And then you're like, oh, well, what about the Boston Celtics? They had a super team, and they had a super trio. They had to
sell their future.
Yeah, they had to sell their future, trade for Kevin Garnett, and sign Ray Allen, and drafted Paul Pierce. So it was it wasn't all three of those guys were oh, let's all go play in Boston together.
The only team that kind of was like that was the Lakers back when they had Gary Payton and Karl Malone.
That's true.
But those guys were all well past their prime.
Yes.
That team also didn't do anything.
They also
lost. Bad. Yeah, we're bad.
Yeah. I think that team ended up losing in the finals to the Pistons.
I guess they weren't bad.
They weren't bad, but they didn't win the championship.
They're past their prime.
Yes, that was Karl and Gary Payton.
It is something that the NBA has gone through where LeBron James started this domino effect where super teams just became the way you won. And for a decade and a half, that's how you did things. Mm-hmm. And now we're just last year with everything going on and everyone being in duos, basically. And now this year, the Nets are kind of pushing that boundary a little bit in terms of super teamness, but there was no parity in the league for a long time because of the effects of what LeBron did.
Yes.
And now we are just now coming over that hill and coming back into where we don't know who's going to win. Whereas for years you knew it was going to come down to two, maybe three teams.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to watch the Warriors and LeBron in the finals.
Well, and that was another thing. The only reason he came back to the Cavs was when they traded for Kevin Love and had Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, he would have not. LeBron James would not have gone back to Cleveland had they not had the setup that was ready for him to show up and compete. Now, I will say that LeBron did go to Los Angeles knowing that it was going to be a team of youngsters and it wasn't going to be a great team. That being said, he 100% knew that someone was going to join him.
Because it was the Lakers.
It's the Lakers and it was LeBron. He wasn't someone was going, they were either going to trade and get someone or he was going to sign and get someone. And so that is why I have my issue with LeBron, is because he caused the entire super team movement, and it really started with him. Thank you. You usually fight me on this.
I mean, I'm not fighting you.
I appreciate you helping get the narrative out.
I'm not fighting you, but I'm also trying to see both sides to where yes, LeBron did a lot of bad for basketball, but he also
he's done a lot of good.
He's done a lot of good. And my biggest point of this was to make sure that you can bash LeBron. He might be a dick. He might be a tough player and done a lot of bad for basketball in his career, but also you have to acknowledge the fact that this guy was 18 years old and had his life under a microscope and he either has the best PR team in the history ever assembled and had that since he was 18, or he actually might just not be a terrible person.
It's true. And it's true. I mean, he's been under a microscope. He's done nothing but be a good citizen.
I mean, his
teammate,
school
a good
is
leader.
actually one of the, like, I hope that at one point they do like a 30 for 30 on his school, because the school that he set up in Cleveland is absolutely incredible.
It is. And so to finish this all off, LeBron is going to be an amazing ambassador for the NBA, you know, for his entire retirement. He still has many years left. I was actually ready to get on board with liking LeBron until he chose the Lakers. Like, I was very ready for it.
But then he chose the Lakers.
So now I got to hate him.
And we are well over time here.
Yes.
So
sorry, everyone.
Let's move on here. Mitch is...
Okay, we'll scoot along.
We're going to scoot along to our next guy here.
This next guy... the main reason I don't like him is because more recent events than not, and that is one Rudy Gobert, who I don't want to pin the pandemic on Rudy Gobert.
That's not fair. You can't pin the pandemic on Rudy Gobert.
But it sure felt like a really sharp fall off a cliff ever since he touched those microphones, and my life sure has changed ever since that moment.
Yes, Rudy Gobert is going to go down as the scapegoat.
He's the COVID man.
That being said, it wasn't his fault. He was super irrelevant, not relevant, but he didn't care and was just irresponsible in one interview. And I guess, yes, it was an idiotic interview. It's going to go down. Rudy Gobert is going to do a lot of good things of his career, but he's going to be remembered for that one interview.
Yes.
And that is all he's going to be remembered for.
Barring the Utah Jazz winning a championship this year, which, might be possible.
Maybe.
That being said, barring something like that happening, he is forever going to be known as the COVID guy.
Yeah.
And
it's unfortunate, but also his own damn fault.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate, but also don't be a dick about it, which is exactly what he was. He's like, oh no, let me touch all the mics. Oh no, the coronavirus. It's coming out to get us. And then the next day, the NBA got canceled and I lost my job. So screw you, Rudy Gobert.
You're one of many who ended up losing your jobs, myself included. And it was tough,
Yeah.
COVID was tough. Rudy Gobert and his interview and then him testing positive and then the NBA shutting down was the first domino to fall in a long series of dominoes that ended up in quarantine for everybody.
Yeah. So I halfway am kidding. I actually don't hate Rudy Gobert all that much as a guy and a basketball player, and I kind of kid, but I think that there is something worth hating about him acting as irresponsibly and as weirdly, and it caused a whole bunch of awkwardness within the Utah Jazz locker room. And it turned out to be okay. This year, obviously they've turned it around and they're playing well. But yeah, I just thought that'd be kind of funny to throw out there.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually at the Mavs game at as a fan,
you told me this.
The night that the NBA shut down, and it was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. Normally I'm at the games to work them. I had the day off. I was me and, I was on a double date with me and my girlfriend, a buddy and his girlfriend. The four of us went to the game, and about halftime rolls around. We were playing the Nuggets. So it was producer Jay. Me and my girlfriend, producer Jay and his girlfriend, and we were going to the game, and Boban was going off. It was awesome. Life was good. And then halftime rolls around, and, we noticed that the crowd was getting a little unruly. People were starting to get up and run towards doors. And we're like, what the heck is going on here? And then we check our phones and we find out that the NBA was shutting down and no one knew what to do. We were I don't know what to do. People are and at this point, we knew what was going on. People were sprinting towards exits. I'm talking running. Full sprint. I actually saw the referees go up and talk to Carlisle and Cuban and all the coaches, and they had a big meeting right before the second half started. Do we keep playing? What do we do? They decided that they were going to. We stuck around because we were I don't want to be in the mosh pit trying to get out. Let's stay at our seats at least to where we can kind of keep
Confine
our distance.
Yourselves,
yeah. We thought it was the best decision at the time. I don't know if it was, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we all turned out okay. And it was downright scary. It was like one of the weirdest experiences I will never forget that day, because the amount of uncertainty. And then we had to take the train home, which was a whole nother adventure.
Yeah.
Because we took the train there, and we're like, well, we don't want to Uber. Like, I don't want to get in a car with a guy. So like everyone on the train is like up against the walls, like keeping their distance from everyone. It was wild. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. It was weird.
That's a wild experience.
Yeah, it was weird.
To go through. That's a very crazy
Thanks,
experience.
Rudy.
Yeah,
you
Rudy.
jerk. No, I'm just kidding. Coronavirus is a real thing, and
French
like
jerk.
it was a real thing. Rudy, being an idiot, actually just brought more like
attention
awareness
to it.
That being said, he was also an like irresponsible dick. So,
all right. Well, I think I need to hurry up and speed through this. So
you have what, your six man now?
My six man, who I think that you can see on my phone.
I honestly can't.
I debated whether having this guy on the list or not.
Oh my god.
I ended up going with LaMelo Ball.
I don't have words.
Let me start with I was very intrigued with the whole like LeVar Ball thing and like Lonzo thing, and how LeVar is arguably one of the greatest marketing geniuses of like the last several years, at least. Like the way that he could like get the spotlight on him and his sons is amazing. And I watched a lot of the Facebook TV show called Ball in the Family. And every single time I watched that, LaMelo at the time was like a 15, 16-year-old. It was like, I think it was the year before he left his high school and went to go play in Lithuania. And every single time he's being interviewed, I was just like, I hate him. I don't like you. He's immature. He doesn't care about anyone else around him. He's very selfish, and he plays it all off. He plays everything off as like a joke, or like, oh, haha, like I'm just being funny. And it's like, whoa, but I'm actually like making fun of you. Or, oh, haha, like I know that I'm in trouble, but I'm just going to joke it off, or whatever. I did not like his demeanor. I didn't like the way that he acted. Granted, he was a kid, but he also, for Sweet 16, got a friggin' Lamborghini. Like, he's a spoiled little kid that has now... I'm not even saying he's bad. I'm not saying that he's bad.
He's good at basketball.
He's good at basketball. I'm not going to say he's not good at basketball.
You're also judging a 15-year-old at this point.
Yeah, and then he goes off and he's like, oh, I'm too good for my high school team, so I'm going to go play in Lithuania. And then nobody heard of him when he was in Lithuania. And he's like, oh, my dad's starting a professional basketball league. I'll go play in that. Nobody heard of him until that. He's like, oh, I'm going to go to like a semi-real team in the Illawarra Hawks and go to the Australian League. And then people are like, oh, okay, he can actually do some stuff. And he jumped from like 6'3" to like 6'6". And still had the same ability. So like he's a very tall playmaker and he's good now, but everything that I've seen from him in the last 5 years has been nothing but like a bad attitude, and kind of like a spoiled kid who assumes that he just deserves to be in the NBA, who does deserve to be in the NBA at this point, but he's always just been like, oh, I'm so much better than everyone else and I should just be given stuff. That's why I kind of like that he was benched by Borrego. I was really thriving in that.
He's starting now, and he deserves to be starting now.
It took a Terry Rozier injury for him to start starting.
He's not going to get rid of it because he has been balling.
But I have a very strong feeling that people are not going to like his attitude, and he's not going to be a very good leader in the NBA. I jumped the gun a little bit on this. I had a lot of guys I thought about putting. I just thought it was funny to just like keep this LaMelo thing going on, because I'm enjoying the hate of it.
You enjoy hating LaMelo, which is just a...
I've been following him for a minute now.
So it's a ride.
Also,
it's a ride.
LeVar by himself is pretty hateable.
LeVar is hateable. He's also kind of funny.
He is funny, but he's also hateable.
True.
Also, I would say LaMelo's funny every once in a while, but he's also going to be hateable. I think people are going to come onto my side on the like not liking his personality thing. I hope. This also may age like milk.
Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Mitchell All Hate Team.
I'm sorry if I ranted. I'm sorry if I went long.
We did go long. I don't know if you ranted, but you did go long. Brought to you by American Barrels with an S.
Barrels.
Not barrel, barrels.
Yes.
With the snake and the shotgun looking thingy.
It's a bottle.
The bottle. Very excited to be back with you. Again, we are here once a week on Wednesdays. We've done our little trial run, and we are here to stay. We are here going forward, Wednesday nights, Wednesday mornings, at some point on Wednesday. I'm not going to guarantee you anything, just at some point on Wednesday.
Yeah, at some point on Wednesday, you'll get a nice little podcast.
Yep. So
Thank
watch
you for
us on
listening.
either Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or whenever the hell you want. Just watch and listen.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Patreon. Follow us on our Instagram, our Twitter. My girlfriend Mac runs our Instagram. Ladies Man Tom runs our Twitter. Both are just absolutely electric at times, and both are pretty dead other times.
Fire content.
Yep.
It gets a little dead sometimes.
Sometimes,
but
but we roll
it's
with it.
Absolutely.
Fire content
Yeah.
for sure. Happy to be back with you guys, and we're excited for more to come.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
Cheers.